Yes. So tell us your initial read on the Bank of America earnings call.
I think the company reported stronger than expected earnings, 27 cents per share in operating earnings, with credit costs coming down a lot faster than we in the street had expected. So I thought it was very positive.
All right, mortgage buyback expenses, right, last quarter were $1.2 billion. There are a lot of estimates now floating around the street as to what it's going to cost all the banks for these mortgage buybacks, some as high as $120 billion. Is your feeling that that's overstated? Is Bank of America also feeling this a little bit more than some of the other banks like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs or Wells Fargo?
That there is a risk there. There are some buybacks being done, and we know that the problem's been out there for a while, and the banks have been buying back these mortgages for a while. And I think that the numbers that have been floating around the last few weeks are overstated, that the banks have a pretty good handle on it, and we're seeing the costs come through, and that'll be played out over the next few years. But I think it's going to be manageable for the industry.
So you were happy with today's results. Was there anything else you were looking for on the call that you didn't hear?
No, I think management did a good job on the call, and they really went through some of the mortgage exposures, their thoughts on credit. They detailed their capital, and they detailed a plan for the bank going forward. I think they did a good job.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the CEO, Moynihan. He's relatively young. He's 50 years old. He's only 9 months into this job, and he definitely took over at a period where the bank was not well positioned. Do you think he's the guy for the job? Is he the right guy for the job? And does he have the confidence of both the shareholders as well as the board and people working for him?
I think he is. He's come in and he's done a lot of the right things. I mean, if you remember a year ago, I guess now, Bank of America was in the headlines every day with a negative issue, and that's really cleared up. And I think he's really restored confidence in the bank and between investors and shareholders and employees, and I think that he's done a good job with that.
Hey, looking forward, Lisa, what do you think about B of A relative to some of the other big banks here in the U.S.? Are they well positioned over the next few years? Do they have the right leadership in place? Seems like you think Moynihan is a good CEO, but how are they going to fare relative to, say, a Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, a Vikram Pandit at Citigroup?
Yeah, I think that they are in good shape. They have a great national franchise in the U.S., and they'll be able to leverage that banking franchise both on the consumer and on the commercial side. And you know, from a stock point of view, we think the stock is very attractive here.
All right, and you know what, Lisa, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Wells Fargo. They report tomorrow. They're sort of the last bank of the four that had a lot of exposure with mortgage buybacks.
Yep. And you know, we're expecting a solid quarter from Wells. We think that their mortgage banking revenues will be very strong with originations up this quarter. And we're, you know, expecting, like I said, solid results from the company.
All right. Thank you very much. Lisa Welch, Vice President at MFC Global Investment Management, Portfolio Manager as well of the John Hancock Regional Bank Fund.